So, people are angry, especially the right, because the musical artist Lizzo played an over 200-year-old crystal flute that apparently belonged to James Madison. Um, and, well, first of all, let's check out the story. Lizzo performs on stage in D.C. with James Madison's 200-year-old crystal flute.
A wine glass, so be patient.
Wow. The Library of Congress has been storing the flute in a vault for decades. Several staffers and Capitol Police were sent with the flute to ensure its safety. The singer says she was the first person to ever play the rare crystal flute.
We just made history tonight!
Yep. Ever the pioneer, Lizzo crossed off another first during the Washington, D.C. stop of her tour, playing an approximately 200-year-old crystal flute that belonged to the former U.S. president. The About Damn Time singer and accomplished flutist carefully played the delicate woodwind, which was sent as a gift to James Madison in 1813 by the French flute maker Claude Laurent. The Library of Congress has maintained the flute in its vault for decades before allowing Lizzo to play it on stage. Lizzo excitedly and delicately handed the flute under the careful watch of library staff and Capitol Police. She briefly shared the history of the flute with her audience, but said she was the first person to ever play it. Bitch, I'm scared. It's crystal. It's like playing out of a wine glass, bitch, so be patient. And what we just saw, bitch, I just twerked and played James Madison's crystal flute from the 1800s, she said incredulously. We just made history tonight. She thanked the library for preserving our history and reminded her fans that history is freaking cool. Earlier this week, the Library of Congress invited Lizzo to visit its collection of 1,700 flutes, the largest in the world. She carefully played the flute there first before she serenaded employees and a few researchers with a more practical woodwind, the library said. And there she is, very excitedly at the Library of Congress. Lizzo asked the library if she could play the famed flute for a few moments during her Washington show, and the library obliged. The recent Emmy winner regularly plays the flute during her concerts and has experimented with other rare and valuable flutes, including an 18-karat gold instrument, though she's partial to one in particular named Sasha Flute. And that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I love it. Until this video dropped, I had no idea. I don't really listen to Lizzo, but I had no idea she was such an accomplished flute player. Much like Alicia Keys is a very accomplished pianist. And of course, after this video dropped, a lot of people, mostly on the right, have nothing but nasty, horrible things to say. Ben Shapiro says this Lizzo flute controversy is a perfect example of what I have termed face tattoo phenomenon. The phenomenon whereby someone does something deliberately controversial in an attempt to draw attention and then acts offended when you notice. You mean like you? Ben Shapiro, your entire life is based on this. I mean, unless you're a complete fucking idiot, you have to know that most of the things you argue about, that you fight for, and that you fight against are purely in an attempt to draw attention, purely in an attempt to cause controversy, to elicit an outrage response. Then you act offended, then you get angry when people call your ass out on it, when they get angry with you, when they tell you you're full of shit or that you're a piece of shit. Okay, we saw the video. Millions of people saw this. There had to have been thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands at her concert, especially in DC. She's an accomplished flautist. All right, she's an award-winning musical artist, and she is a professional on the flute. What's your problem? What's your problem? Are you upset they didn't let you touch the flute? The crystal flute, then? Because, of course, you know, something that is around 200 years old and was once owned by a former forefather president, of course, is it that they would want a great patriot like you to have held it instead of an accomplished musician, Shapiro? Is that what your problem is? Because that's sounding like what it is. Why wouldn't Lizzo be granted the opportunity to hold and play for 5 seconds this historical crystal flute? Why? She's a very accomplished flautist, as I've said. She was ecstatic to be invited to the Library of Congress, where she got to view and hold and even play from its biggest collection in the world of flutes, expensive and not expensive, but all historical. Right there in the Library of fucking Congress. She asked politely if she could spread the knowledge by playing it for just a few minutes during her DC concert, and they accepted. They allowed her permission to play this flute. And who better to play it? I believe she's an American citizen. I believe she was born and raised here. I believe she has more than enough talent. One of the best people you could think of to handle and play a flute of such importance. She definitely has enough money. You're not handing it to some random crackhead on the street, Shapiro. You're handing it to an award-winning, highly accomplished flautist who is excited to visit Library of Congress, got the invitation to visit, got the permission to take the flute under supervision because of its importance and, its price tag, actually went up in front of an audience of thousands of our, I would assume, mostly newer, younger generation, and played this flute for the first time, opening up people's eyes to a piece of history that they didn't know existed, opening people's eyes to the value in playing and enjoying classic instruments. She opened up their eyes to a lot of things that night. And she opened up my eyes to a few things. And that's what's important, really, isn't it, Shapiro? So why are you upset, Shapiro? Why is it a controversy? Wait, isn't that what he built his entire career over? 9 out of 10 Helens agree Greg Abbott is a little piss baby. Okay. Oh my God. Is there a controversy about Lizzo and a flute? I don't understand how someone playing a flute is controversial. She has amazing talent and made that flute sing. Maybe sometime we should talk about how Ben Shapiro is a little piss baby. Yep. What should they have done? And I bet, you know what? I bet that's what his real problem is. I'm going to say it. He's probably upset that they didn't give Chris Rock the crystal flute. That they didn't give a white artist the crystal flute. How much more patriotic could you get? How much more educational can you get? Having an award-winning professional on the flute during a DC concert in front of thousands of young people, bring it out, show it off, show that she's excited about it, play it good, and even tell everybody this is a great part of history. History is so freaking awesome. She probably did more for the educational level of people in this country than you ever have, Shabibo. Who would you give the flute to? Well, we know. We know. Ben Shapiro would give the flute to Chris Rock. No, not Chris Rock. Sorry, Kid Rock. Kid Rock should get the flute because he's a real patriot, right? Maybe we should give it to Kenny G, who doesn't even fucking play the flute. But, you know, he's white. Maybe that's what Shapiro's problem is. That's what this is about. There is no controversy here. The only controversy there would be what? What is the controversy? That they took it out for the first time and gave it to a black flautist? That they would take something like that out and not give it to you? That they didn't give it to a white artist? Which is it, Shapiro? Which is it? Because we know that's exactly where he's going. Fellas, I don't want to create a stampede, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is now available. Right there, Kid Rock on his way to propose to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, God. I can't believe this guy stayed married to her for so long. It's amazing. What the hell? What is this? Ew. Crystal flute obsession is a new diversion. Ben Shapiro is running out of material. He's gone dry, much like his wife. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. A lot of tweets about Coolio passing. There's Kid Rock again. Dear Ian, you had one job. If you wouldn't have a problem with Taylor Swift playing Ben Franklin's piano, you shouldn't have a problem with Lizzo playing James Madison's flute. If you do have a problem, stop and think about why that is. Exactly. That's all it is. This should be like one of the coolest things in the history of music. This piece from the concert. And of course, racists and the right, pretty interchangeable there, are going to have a problem with it. Where there is no fucking problem. Mass shootings aren't a gun issue, they're a mental health issue. We must fund mental health services. Yep, 205 Republicans just voted against school-based mental health services. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the September 29th, 2008 market crash. That means nothing to most of us. Oh, you want fair? Okay. How about the Fed reactivates all canceled or discharged debt for all individuals and businesses over the past 150 years, then bars the debt from bankruptcy the way they do with student debt? That would be truly fair and equal across the board. Oh boy. Judge Eileen Cannon rules that Trump does not have to submit a declaration or affidavit about whether FBI supposedly planted any docs at Mar-a-Lago. This is clearly a kangaroo court. Yes, we know this right here. Ugh. Oh my God. I hate to be a stickler, but why is Jesus wearing a cross? How is it okay for Christians like Marjorie Taylor Greene to get divorced, but not okay for two men or two women to get married? I don't love or hate Lizzo, but the point being missed here is a popular musician playing an instrument is so rare now, it's headline news. No, I think you're kind of missing the point there. You're missing a big point. Beloved MAGA lovers call it something else. I guess she has a type. It's open season, boys. Ugh. Christians, you don't get let off the hook condemning LGBTQIA people by saying it's not me who condemns you, it's God, because you don't speak for any God. The Bible, which you claim speaks for God, is not as clear on this as you assert it is. So yes, you are condemning us. Interesting. Nicely said. No one does cruelty the way Republican Christians do cruelty. In a just world, Florida Governor DeSantis would be picked up and whisked away by Hurricane Ian, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and deposited safely in Martha's Vineyard, or in VP Harris's front yard. Personally, I think Martha's Vineyard is too good for him. Yes, Hurricane Ian is just decimating Florida. Decimating Florida. And of course, Governor DeSantis wants money. He wants help. And there are people making jokes that he inadvertently saved all those immigrants by shipping them across the country right before the hurricane hit. And they're making a joke about that. But seriously, I don't think he would have done anything with them personally if he knew what was coming and how bad it was going to be. Even though, as governor, he should be prepared for how bad a fucking hurricane is going to be. It's another reason he's useless. He's too worried about shit that's really none of his business. And isn't focusing on the things he's paid to focus on. And of course, what did President Biden do? Immediately gave all the help, all the aid that Florida would need. Immediately activated FEMA, immediately got to work taking care of Floridians. Through this catastrophe. And the guy is still complaining. I guess we can add a historical flute to the list of things no white dudes cared about a week ago that suddenly became sacrosanct national treasures as soon as a black woman touched them. I'll stick it in the file next to mermaids. Good one. More Russian men have fled the country than were drafted. Incredible. A lot of Florida Republicans are going to need socialism this weekend. Socialism is un-American. We need disaster relief funds. Clinging on to the yield sign. You misunderstand. It's only socialism when it benefits somebody other than themselves. It comports entirely with modern Christian beliefs. Like Christ taught, help everyone less fortunate and in need, provided they're within a certain tax bracket, a specific skin color, from your country, follow your religion. Just like he said, everyone. Also, just like the Republican ethos, states shouldn't be allowed to tell you how to live your life, and there should be small government. Unless, of course, you were impregnated at 10 as a result of rape. Then you get none of those things. See? Logically consistent in a conservative way. So neither logical nor consistent. Get it? I get it, bury the money. There was this, I think it was this woman who told a story about how she had this neighbor or this friend. And this guy was always a hardcore right-wing conservative. typical white middle-aged slob. He worked really hard, never gave to charity, always bitched against socialism, called people commies, bitched about taxes being too high, didn't care a lick for anything affecting anybody else other than himself and the people like him. And lo and behold, one day he got injured. That injury led to him not being able to do his job. Not being able to do his job led to him having to quit his job. Having to quit his job led to him having no money. Having no money leads to not being able to make a fucking living. So he had no choice but to seek socialist programs. He had to go on disability, or maybe it was SSI with some extra job reimbursement program, something he went on in conjunction with other programs, and did not see the irony in it, that his entire existence consisted of not working, not pulling his own weight, and everything he had, everything he used to live was paid for by government funds. And, you know, this girl telling the story, of course, she didn't have a problem with it. That's what these programs are for. That's part of the reason we pay taxes. And this guy, of course, all of a sudden doesn't see a problem with it because he needs it. Or in his mind, he's deserving of it because he worked. He needs it. And she's like, fine. Except it wasn't good enough for him all of a sudden. He started bitching and complaining, not about socialism, not about too high taxes. He started bitching and complaining that the government was not giving him enough free money. Disability wasn't paying him enough to live. Food stamps weren't paying him enough to get the food he liked. He was not getting rental assistance that was enough for him to live in the home he had. He had to downgrade. He had to downgrade in a lot of things, in a lot of different aspects of his life. And now, the bitching and complaining, his primary focus when it came to economics, politics, social sciences, all of that fun stuff, did a whole 180. Went from hating people that need government help to bitching that the government help he's getting is not enough for him. He actually believed that he was due much, much more money because he worked for a living. He worked. He was a good patriot. He was a good American. So he should get double or triple the amount. And you know, this girl had to tell him, you know, most people who are on food stamps work. Most people who get disability do so because they're disabled. Even people who are on disability work. A lot of people work for a living, and then something happens. They can no longer afford food. They can't afford medical care. They can't afford where they live, or they get injured and they can't work like they once did. That's what these programs are for. And this guy was convinced that he was somehow special. He was somehow entitled because he worked for a living and could not wrap his head around the idea that practically, well, actually, when you're talking disability, everybody worked. You cannot qualify for disability if you have not worked and paid into the system. All right? He didn't get that. He legit believed that every single person receiving some form of government aid never worked a day in their life. They were all minorities, all sorts of horrible racist bullshit. He believed that government money only goes to useless people. And it's different in his case because he's better than other people that get aid because he worked. Could not understand what she meant when she told him everybody worked. You can't get on disability without having worked. People on food stamps work. You know, people that get retirement, SSRI, worked. And now he lives a miserable, lonely life. Like he thought he was gonna hit the jackpot or something. Because he had a job before and then got disabled. Why am I getting such horrible money? Because that's how it works. And that's how it works for other people that get these benefits who still fucking work. Or they have children. Or they have elderly parents they have to take care of. Or they have sick family members. You fucking idiot. Google supply side Jesus. It's pretty hilarious. They don't deserve it. DeSantis just wasted millions. Let that fucker pay for it all. Fuck them. You know, I don't know. Especially since he's still complaining about Biden. They really are fucking stupid. They don't understand how good they have it. You see, if I were in a bad mood, I would be a lot meaner than Biden. I would take 12 million off of that check. Because I'd say that's what he owes tax-paying citizens for that political stunt. But no, Biden didn't do that. He's going to take care of Florida. Kylie Jenner lives in a $35 million mansion, and this is the water pressure. Shut up, lady. When you live in a $35 million mansion, that's the pressure only when you want it to be. It's probably set to trickle. My message to the people of Florida is that at times like these, America comes together. We put aside our differences and pull together as one team, one America. However long it takes, the U.S. government will be there. Okay, now I think he's too nice. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who voted against gay marriage 2 months ago because it's a sin, is now getting divorced from her husband after cheating on him with the manager of her gym. What gym? She looks like a wrinkly, blotchy, saggy bag of fucking skin. She looks like that episode of Rick and Morty when Morty turned... Oh, God, I don't want to think about it. Of course. It's like that dude says. You know, everything is a sin. Everything is wrong. Everything is highly scrutinized when it comes to other people. Doesn't matter when it comes to them. You know, you really can't mention the Bible. You can't go over the Bible. You can't even use that against them because it doesn't matter. They really don't care about the Bible. It's a tool for them. It's like a weapon for them. It's a mental weapon that they use against others. They don't give a shit about their religion. They don't give a shit about America. They don't give a shit about people's rights. They don't give a shit about anything. They give a shit about themselves. That's it. That's what this is about. Of course, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't have to. Because she doesn't think about the Bible every day. She thinks about herself. That's all it is. Think about this. If you saw a breaking headline, Trump indicted, you'd have no clue for what. That's how much of a criminal he is. As of right now, DeSantis has $135 million in campaign money, all donated to him by the GOP. Fort Myers Beach is gone. No emergency crews. These poor people need so much help. You know, I reiterate, Biden is too nice. I'd force him to use that money to help his state. This is the part where Florida, like any good self-respecting anti-socialist, anti-welfare Republican, takes responsibility and pulls itself up by its own bootstraps rather than relying on FEMA and the blue states to bail them out, right? Right? I'm sure they'll release a top quality plan on rescue and restoration right after their long anticipated healthcare reform drop. Any day now. Squanto warned the people in Massachusetts about choice land 400 years ago. Deep red part of the state, so there's plenty of bootstraps to go around. Looks like it's a good old DeSantis beach cleaning party. Remember Hurricane Sandy? He doesn't give a shit about relief. Hope y'all got long bootstraps. Actually, that looks better than some parts of Florida from before the storm. Some real shitholes down there. Biden will send help. DeSantis will take the credit. He's already doing that. And probably line his own pockets with Biden bucks. Oh, he's definitely pulling a Favre. He'll build himself a mansion in about a week while people die outside where hospitals used to be. What do you think of socialism now? Damn Democrats sent us this storm. Trump 2024, he would have nuked it. Remember when they blame natural disasters on God punishing liberals? Funny how that sort of rhetoric never appears when they're the ones being punished. Doesn't the orange clown also have like $500 million in donations that he got for his bullshit stolen election claims? Now is where he'll say he really lives in New York, not Florida. So, don't look at him for any donations or help. You actually think he's even down there right now? DeSantis is a monster, but these takes are misguided. He cannot legally use campaign funds for disaster relief. And what about the money he used to fly the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard? Good point, dude. Good point. Oh my God. No, he will not. Can't believe I have to say this. People's gender is not your issue. Your issue is any fear and lack of education on the matter. Sounds like a you problem, not a them problem. Trans rights are human rights. Good morning and happy Thursday to everyone who has prayers up for our family and friends in the path of the hurricane in Florida. May they all be safe and sound. Biden's Hurricane Ian failures. Did not even consider nukes. Did not Sharpie storm to turn it toward Cuba. Failed to form prayer circle to pray away the rain. No plans to toss paper towels to Punta Gorda residents. Pro tip, if you're currently melting straight the fuck down and throwing a shit fit for the ages because a black lady got to play a flute you didn't even know existed, guess what? You're a fucking racist, because who the fuck would object to that? Funny how it's acceptable to hear voices in your head if you say you're part of a religion. This morning I spoke with Governor DeSantis to discuss the steps we're taking to support Florida in response to Hurricane Ian. I've also directed FEMA Administrator Criswell to travel to Florida tomorrow to check in on response and survey where additional support is needed. This is what a real leader does. Yes, we know. We know, but I hate to say it. Helping out someone like DeSantis, isn't that like polishing a turd? I know. There's Floridians involved. Gotta remember that. And some of them aren't like him. I'll just say that. Oh, lovely. At least 2 more minors were raped and impregnated in Ohio, who were forced to leave the state to get reproductive care. Additional reports of women threatening to commit suicide if they can't get an abortion. This is what Republicans want to do nationwide. Yeah, I bet those women threatening to commit suicide are also some of the women who are being denied cancer treatment because they're pregnant. Could you imagine being in a position where you're told you have cancer? There's limited time for you to get on this. Limited time for you to seek treatment for this. Every day, every trip to your clinic or hospital counts. Imagine being pregnant on top of that. Imagine being fucking pregnant on top of that. And having right-wing politicians influencing your medical decisions. Right-wing politicians who may as well be in the room with you, with your doctor. Just inserting themselves into your most difficult, most intimate decision. I can't even fucking imagine. They should not just codify Roe v. Wade in this country. I'll tell you right now, This country needs to actively pursue and prosecute and imprison people who are responsible for this bullshit. That's who needs to be punished. That's who needs to be locked away. That's who needs to face some serious consequences. People that do this, they need to be arrested. We need to lock them up and throw away the key. They're just too sick to be allowed to mix with normal society. When you have somebody who is horrifically evil, horrifically cruel, horrifically harmful, even to just one person, you have some absolute psychotic who does something unimaginably horrible to another person, physically, emotionally, mentally, even one. You separate them from the rest of society. You lock them up and throw away the key. You put them away in some special home or some specialized hospital or some medical prison somewhere, and you do not allow them to ever get out and mix with normal, sane, functioning individuals. And many of those normal, sane, functioning individuals, that includes vulnerable individuals, underage individuals, individuals who cannot make decisions for themselves. You need to be especially concerned with keeping them safe from people like this. It's what you have to do. And this is what we're seeing here. You need to really, really come out en masse for the midterm elections. We need to get rid of these right-wingers. I'll say it. We have to get rid of these Republicans, these evil, just not with it people. We need to codify Roe, and we need to hold these individuals responsible for doing these things to our most vulnerable people. Pregnant women, pregnant fucking children, women suffering from cancer who are pregnant. These are some of our most vulnerable individuals. There is no excuse. Everyone involved in this campaign of just utter cruelty, torture, crimes against humanity need to be put away. Don't just codify it. Hold these people responsible like they wanted to hold our most vulnerable people responsible for things that most of them do not have any fucking control over. Are you listening to how fucking stupid that is? Where a woman has to worry whether or not she's breaking a law if she gets unexpected vaginal bleeding. She may be deemed responsible for that. They want to hold her accountable for murder, for something like that. Are you even understanding how fucking stupid that is? How cruel, how just insane that fucking is. Don't just codify Roe v. Wade. We need to hold these people criminally accountable. An eye for an eye, just like their good Bible says, right? That's exactly what I would do. I want people to get together in solidarity and point right at them and say, we're coming after you now. You are going to pay. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for all of it. Blah, blah, blah. Won't somebody please think of the checks notes? Think of the checks notes again. Blah, blah. What? What are you talking about? Biden designated Trump voters extremists. Tim Ryan said to kill the MAGA movement. Mazie Hirono endorsed call to arms on abortion. And since then, a Republican teenager murdered. FBI sent SWAT teams to arrest a Christian, and an elderly woman was shot spreading pro-life causes. I'm going to have to check this out. Right off the top of my head, I can think of about 50 billion points to go against these three. And I'll guarantee these three are missing serious context. But, you know, this is what these people do. Party of less government wants the government to control a woman's uterus and health care. Again, we know they don't really care about less government because they don't care about government. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about rule of law. They don't care about you. They don't care about your children or your family or your rights or your privileges or your freedoms. They don't care about any of that. They care about their own power. That's it. As a Floridian, I'm begging you not to give no strings attached funds to DeSantis. He doesn't care about us and can't be trusted to be a good steward of relief funds. Yeah. GOP doesn't understand how much they pissed off women in America, but they will. And I'm serious, ladies. They better get your ass out and vote. And I've been telling you this for a long time, too. It's you men's fault, too. You should have, and I've told you this, to get your wives, get your daughters out of these fucking states. And go out and vote. You know, if they really knew how pissed off they made women in this country, and hopefully everybody else, except for themselves, there would be not a single fucking Republican in office. And that's what I want to see. Republicans want pregnant women who are cancer-ridden to just die. Are you ready to die for their religious beliefs? Well, they sure as hell ain't gonna do it. I bet they feel good about that too. You know, their Bible. It's about sacrifice. It's about doing what's right under the Lord before worrying about your life on earth. They ain't gonna fucking do it, but they're sure as hell gonna make sure you do it. They're gonna go after your wives and your daughters to do it. Like Carlin once said about George W. Bush, that was the biggest freaking upset and controversy of the time. The Iraq War. He said, here's a guy walking around like he's a gunfighter in a John Wayne movie, ready to go and fight. That would be fine. That would be fine if he's ready to go and fight, but he's not ready to go and fight. he's ready to send your children to go and fight. And it's the same thing here. They'll talk about the Bible, the merging of church and state. You know, it's God, Jesus, Bible, Jesus, God, Bible, Jesus. They want this, they want that. This is not what God wants. This is what God wants. You know, the sanctity of life. You know, the child growing inside you. Oh, who cares if you need treatment for cancer? Who cares if it's going to end up killing you, the childbirth? Who cares if one of the million different reasons you or your child or both are not going to make it that we don't understand? Jesus and the Bible and this and that, but not them. Not their child, not their body, nor those of their, I won't even say loved ones, because I don't think these people know what love is. I'll just say them and people like them and people around them. That's as far as I'm going to go with that. They won't put themselves on that line. They're not going to put the people around them on that line. They're going to put you on that line. They're going to put your wife on that line. They're going to put your daughters on that line. They're going to put your mother on that line. And that will make them feel better. That will satisfy the I'm a good Christian part of their facade. That's probably what it is right there. They can be an evil, selfish piece of shit in everyday life, but they can still score points with the big man upstairs. You know, if they put your wife on the line, if they put your daughter on the line, they're essentially offering half of this country up as sacrifices to their God. So they can look good, you know? It's actually really fucked up if you think of it in that way. And that's probably what it is. You know, maybe somewhere in the back of their minds, you know, they have that upbringing in them, that conditioning in them, that the way they were raised with those good Christian values, it means nothing to them. But, you know, they've been conditioned to the point where they do probably worry, what if there is a God? So they'll get their abortions. But now that they're in this position, they'll satisfy that need for appeasement by throwing your women, your wives, your daughters on the chopping block. Oh God, it's so sick. It's so pathetic. These people need to be locked away. They can just never be trusted in any positions of power. You don't want to trust them around your children. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. At this point, I don't think I would piss on Marjorie Taylor Greene if she were on fire. These people are just sick, and that's all there is to it. Well, anyway, that's it for now. Maybe I will be back. And